This is lesson 5B, the point cloud and mesh handling inside of the Geomagic for SolidWorks plugin. We can pick up this lesson where we left off at 5A, or just in case we get lost, we did save this out as a second file here, 5B. If I hit open, I can see I'm right where I left off before, where I have 2 point clouds and then a mesh. I'm going to hide the mesh for the time being, and we're going to work with these 2 point clouds. The first thing that we want to do is we want to recognize that they are 2 halves of the same object. One of the halves was sitting on a table and I didn't scan the bottom of it. The other side was fixtured and I didn't scan one side, but I did scan most of the bottom. To align these 2 together, to begin the process of unifying them into a single scan, we'll use the Align Objects tool. I'll choose one scan to be my fixed scan, and then select the box for moving to select the other scan. This object here, since it's fixed, will not move in space, and this object will translate to the other. I only have 2 scans here, but I can actually do this tool with groups or multiple scans per. I can select multiple scans to be my fixed, multiple scans to be my moving. The method that we'll use here is the Pick Point Pairs. And the Pick Point Pairs tool has me recognize certain features that are easy to find on both scans. For example, I know that I have this dimple on one side of my thimble, but I don't have it on the other side. Therefore, I can use the bottom point here and pair it with the same point on my lower scan. I need to do this at least 3 times, so I'll recognize that this top feature here and this top feature here are the same, and I'll choose one more point just on this initial dimple to be my 3rd point. I have the option of optimizing my alignment after I do this, which basically runs a best fit. For the purposes of this lesson, I'm going to deselect that though, and I'm just going to align these. When I rotate around, you can see that it was a very quick operation, and I do still have some mismatch here. I wasn't very precise with my point placement, but that's totally fine. We can fix that in the next step. So what I'll do, if I'm happy with that pre-alignment, is select Next. Next is going to move that point cloud from moving into the fixed column, and if I had a 3rd scan, I could repeat the process by selecting it and moving and placing 3 more points. Since I've only got the 2, I'll hit OK. The next step in aligning multiple scans together is the Optimize Alignment tool. In this case, I'm going to select 1, 2 scans, or I can do that also here in my history tree, and select Optimize. It's going to best fit those 2 scans together and create a much more accurate alignment. It's worth it to note that both of these tools here can be run with either point clouds or meshes. To convert these 2 points into a final merged polygon object or mesh, I use the merge tool in the polygons toolbar. I'll select both points and points 2 because points 3 is my mesh. I'm going to choose my mesh output type and choose whether or not I want to do any noise reduction or smoothing while I'm doing this merging. I can limit the mesh size to a maximum number of triangles, and by default that's set to 500,000. And I can choose to keep the original data as well. If I hit preview, both of my point clouds will be hidden, and I'll see the mesh that will be generated as a result. One of the nice things about doing this is that meshing will get rid of some of the noisy point clouds in space. My blue object here is now a single file, and since I chose not to keep the original scan data, when I hit OK, those point clouds go away. Generally speaking, when we do a new mesh, when we create a new mesh, it's always a good idea to repair that scan. This is going to optimize the scan a little bit for some of the downstream processes like filling holes. We're going to notice that there are some minor errors in the scan, like this. And the Diagnose Mesh tool is going to find those areas that are kind of noisy, as well as a number of other potential issues that happen when new meshes are generated. And when I hit Preview, we'll see a lot of those go away. So I'll hit OK here. And a lot of the small holes were filled, but not all of them were. I do have the option of using the Fill Holes tool to select how much curvature I'd like to add to some new areas of scan data. For most of this, I like to use the tangent fill. Filling holes is very easy. I just need to find the boundary that I'd like to fill, click it, and it goes away. Even large holes can be filled very nicely. I do have the option of also filling all of the holes rather than clicking ones individually. But the bottom hole here is very, very large, so I don't expect to see the best results from that. We can check to see what it'll look like though. This is an optional step if you're using a mechanical workflow, but it is kind of helpful when you're doing auto surfacing. So now I should have a watertight solid, and I'll hit OK. If I show my polygon edges, I can see that I've got a lot of density that's kind of variable. I've got small triangles where I've got sharp corners. I've got larger triangles where I don't have much curvature. And if I'd like to, I can remesh to make a more uniform tessellation. I can choose my target edge length and hit Preview. This is one way to reduce the file size typically if I choose a suitable edge length. What we should see here is we should see a lot of uniform kind of equilateral triangles rather than the random dispersion. So now I've got a more uniform tessellation. And that's great, but my file size can still remain to be pretty big. I know that I don't need millions of triangles on a flat surface to accurately represent it. So what we can do instead is simplify the scan. And this works very much like the sampling did in Point Cloud. I can continue to keep high density triangles in areas where I have sharp corners, but lower density where there are flatter areas. I choose the target percentage here, and I'll choose 50% to make it kind of obvious, and hit Preview. We should see larger triangles appear, especially where there are flat areas. Now those sharp corners come back with higher density triangles, and everywhere that has less curvature gets larger triangles. This is useful mainly for going into auto surfacing. I'm going to hide my edges here, and I'm going to look around for areas that maybe have some weird deviation values to them. And I'm going to use my Smooth tool, which works very similarly to reduce noise, to add some curvature where there shouldn't be some here. I can choose how much I would like to smooth the object, and for maximum effect, to visualize this as easily as possible, I'm going to crank both of them up to their max. When I hit Preview, I'll notice that I get a much more glossy object in a lot of areas, but I do remove a lot of the definition from the scan. So in this case, I'll hit Cancel, and we'll go back to normal where we have sharp corners. I also have the option of removing spikes, and spikes are areas where there's a single point deviating from the normal. I don't know if I have any on this scan. Now meshes can be edited the same way that point clouds can. If I right click my object in the feature tree and select Edit Feature, I have the same dialog on the left hand side that appears. Total number of points and triangles, and the number of selected with the bounding box below. In the viewing window, if I right click in space, I can see I've got the same 4 selection tools, and they function the same way that point clouds do, with one small exception. Here, because this is a shelled object, I have the option of either selecting triangles that I can see or selecting all the way through my object. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move or rotate my object so I'm looking at it from one side, right click in space, and see that I have the select through option turned off. If I make a selection here and rotate around to the back side, I can see that I have no triangles selected on the back. However, if I right click and clear my selection and turn on select through and make the same selection, this time I actually have selected all the way through. Now let's deselect an area here and delete those triangles. Now I can see inside of my part, and I can see that I've got some floating triangles here. Another option that we have in our right-click context menu is the Select Back Faces tool. If I have this enabled, I can actually select the back side of triangles as I see them in that yellow color. If I turn that Select Back Faces off and make another selection, you can see that I'm not able to select triangles if I'm looking at them from the back. I'm going to leave that hole in my part and hit OK to exit the Edit Feature tool. And the reason that I'm doing that is because I've created a couple of islands. This area here and this area here are not attached to the main body of the scan. If I'd like to remove them, I can use the Detach Triangles tool, select the mesh I'd like to run this operation on, and hit OK. This is going to remove the largest, keep the largest number of triangles that are not, the Detach Triangles tool is going to keep only the largest areas of scan data and delete smaller floating islands. If I run it again, I should see this other island go away. If not, I can still manually select to delete them.